Ever look at the news, see a leader who just seems to be, well, permanently in charge, and wonder what's really going on?
Yeah.
Today, we're diving into something pretty fascinating and persistent. In African politics, it's often called the big man syndrome.
Right. And we've got some really interesting analysis here that tries to unpack the why behind it.
Okay, so this phrase, big man syndrome,
Yeah.
what are we actually talking about? What's the core idea?
Well, it's essentially this leadership culture where the president becomes this huge, dominant figure, often almost unquestionable.
For a long time, right?
For decades, yeah. The sources highlight this powerful idea of leaders who, how was it put, rise with revolutions and retire in coffins. It's quite the image.
Okay, so it paints a picture of a certain kind of permanence.
Exactly. And the analysis suggests it's not just random. There are roots.
Like what?
Things like, post-colonial legacies, the historical role of the military, sometimes a kind of hero worship dynamic, and also the really complex ways ethnic power structures can play into it. All these things can kind of create the conditions for it.
So it's more than just one person wanting to stick around. It's systemic in a way.
It can be, yeah.
Our sources must have some pretty clear examples of this, then.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, think Paul Biya in Cameroon. He's been ruling since 1982.
82, wow.
Or Yoweri Museveni in Uganda since 86. And Teodoro Obiang in Equatorial Guinea. He actually holds the global record for the longest-serving current head of state.
The global record, goodness.
And of course, people remember Robert Mugabe's time in Zimbabwe. 37 years. These aren't short stints.
No kidding. Decades. What is the psychological drive behind that? Why hang on so tight?
It seems like a mix of things based on the analysis. There's often a genuine fear, perhaps, of what happens after leaving power.
Like legal trouble, retribution.
Potentially, yeah. Fear of prosecution is mentioned. But also, over time, leaders can start to really see themselves as essential, as intertwined with the nation itself.
L'état c'est moi kind of thing.
Sort of, yeah. And that mindset can then shape the whole system, where loyalty to the leader becomes more important than, say, competence or fresh ideas.
Right. And you see that reflected in how they stay in power, too.
Definitely. We often see constitutions getting tweaked, term limits removed or extended. It's a common tactic.
So that locks things in place. What does that do to a country, this kind of long-term, highly personalized rule?
Well, the effects are pretty stark, according to the sources. Innovation can get suppressed. New ideas, younger generations, they find it hard to break through.
Less opportunity.
Right. And democratic processes get undermined. Think rigged elections, clamping down on opposition voices. And it can even contribute to instability down the line across generations. Plus, you get phenomena like brain drain, skilled people leaving because they don't see a future.
So how do they manage it for so long? It can't just be brute force, surely.
No, it's usually more complex. The analysis points to a few key strategies. Leveraging history is a big one.
Like their role in liberation.
Exactly. Like we mentioned with Mugabe and Museveni, that narrative is powerful. Then there's controlling information.
State media.
Shaping the story.
Yeah.
And crucially, building really strong alliances with the military, obviously, but also creating these vast networks of patronage, keeping key people loyal.
It really makes you think about power itself, doesn't it? The nature of it.
It does. And the sources bring in some powerful counterpoints, some historical perspectives.
Like what?
Well, Thomas Sankara's quote is mentioned, "The king must die so the nation may live." It's a direct challenge to this idea of permanence.
Powerful. That puts it bluntly.
And Kwame Nkrumah's idea, too, that the state is the property of the people, not a throne inherited like a family heirloom. It reframes leadership entirely.
So those are critiques from within African thought itself. Looking forward, though, is this pattern? Is it set in stone? Or are there signs of change?
There are definitely some signs, yeah. Maybe glimmers of hope. We're seeing movements pop up specifically calling for term limits.
Whereabouts?
The analysis mentions activism in places like Togo and the DR Congo. Plus, the younger generations, they're often more connected, more vocal.
Yeah.
Social media plays a role.
Digital activism.
And sometimes constitutional courts push back. It's not guaranteed, but it happens. The big question, really, is whether future movements will zero in specifically on this issue, just holding on to power indefinitely.
Yeah, it really does seem to boil down to that core tension, doesn't it? Is power something you wield for the people or something you possess?
Exactly. Service versus ownership, in a way.
And thinking about that, it makes you wonder, right? If these leaders who've been there for decades were to step down, what might we actually learn?
That's a fascinating thought. What stories, what realities about their time in power might come to light? The long shadow that kind of leadership casts, it's definitely something to ponder.